Gallery view.
Okay, now I feel better.
Good.
I see
Ooh,
Kailash.
you can't do that, Lalita. You can't. If this falls, I will. We don't see ourselves.
Can you turn your cameras on, Carolyn?
Where's the camera? There we go.
Oh, yes.
You feel like you're.
Beautiful.
So Lalita has to practice from what's it called?
Kailash,
We started the webinar already, by the way. The participants are here.
People are
Kailash.
here. People are here.
Okay,
And we're recording.
okay. Can you hear me? Can you
If
hear
you
me?
come closer, it will be better. The closer you come, the better we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you, yes.
Okay.
Better, closer.
No. No. It's back.
I am not. Don't say that. It makes me nervous.
That's it.
Good. So I see people are joining us again from all over the world. And we'll just start in a few minutes. It's another beautiful sunny day in Puerto Rico. The ocean could not be more beautiful. There was somebody just now.
Come visit us.
Yes, we are reopening very soon.
We're
God
reopening.
willing.
We're taking reservations. You see the ocean behind us? At the end, I'll turn it around.
January 10th is the day. January 10th. We still have room for a few more people. We're keeping the group small due to regulations. And we still have room for just a few more people. If anyone wanted to come and didn't have a chance to sign up to register. And we'll just have a few classes. And it's mostly personal retreat, like creating your own sanctuary, going on a personal retreat here with relaxation, yoga, just a few classes in groups, and everything else will be offered through your own personal devices, your tablets, smartphones, and so forth, computers. You can watch our videos. So, yes, so Carolyn here. Gatsiopoulou G says, hello, Carolyn. Hello, Kailash.
That's Georgina.
Yeah, she changed her name.
Georgina.
From London.
Come, Georgina. I have to talk to you about Georgina.
Hi, Georgina.
Oh, good. Yes. Yes, good. And we should have, when we advertised, we should have said, this is not necessarily a webinar only for people, mothers or fathers raising healthy kids. We are children, and we need to still be raised healthy.
Yeah.
This is a child, this is an older child. Walking down the street this morning, I saw the little girl in her. What does she need?
Yeah.
To play.
Yes.
And isn't it what's good for children is good for us?
That's right.
That's right.
And a lot of things, like, for example, I buy children's sunscreen because it's more natural than most of the sunscreen for adults. You know, certain skin products and certain products, I look at the ingredients for kids and for adults, and like, I prefer the kids version because it's better for me. We have somebody from Portugal joining us.
Portugal. Oh.
Juana Cavaliero, Portugal. Awesome. Well, just wait one more minute and then we have so much to share with you. This webinar, each one of us could be speaking for at least an hour. We all three of us have children, and Lalita has 9 grandchildren and 4 children. Carolyn, 3 boys. I have 2 boys. We all have children. We could be talking away here for the remainder of the day. This could be a 1-week workshop. And we're going to squeeze it into something like 40 minutes and also leave some time for you to ask questions
We
at the end.
definitely won't cover everything, but hopefully we can have an inspirational conversation. You guys can add to it too you can write and Kailash will bring it up this is, like I said, it's not just for children, it's for us. And it's also, a lot of us have children in our lives. Maybe you don't have a child, maybe you have a nephew or a niece, or you have relatives that have children and you want to inspire healthier things to get them to be a healthy adult, right? That's what we want.
So Lalita led the seminar or the webinar last time, and with the gut health. And today it's Carolyn's turn. I just admire how she's raising her children, how they have virtually never seen a doctor, and how she's so authentic, the way she's raising her children. And often when I need advice, she's the person to go to, because a lot of the things, there's no books that have been written. And so whom do we ask if there's really not much information about how to raise children this way? And so Carolyn is definitely my number one resource to go to. And so she will be the main speaker today without any questions. And then as a reminder, next week, so in a week from today, we will have one more webinar as part of this 3-webinar series. And the focus will be on how to achieve your perfect healthy weight, whether it's to lose or gain some weight, eliminate or gain strength and muscle mass. We'll be covering all of that next week in the webinar. Good. I would say it's a few minutes, 7 minutes past the hour. I would say, Carolyn, you have so much to share, and Lalita and myself will also share a few things at the end. I would say we go ahead and start.
Well, thank you, Kailash. You touched my heart by saying such nice things. And I realize when we kind of picked this topic, or the topic picked me, I don't know which had happened, but that I have a huge amount of passion for this topic, and I have since before I had children. So I used to work with children in an after-school program where I'd have to feed them junk food and watch them go from being kind of calm into hyper and having issues. And I got to know the parents, and I try to get healthier food involved. And I always loved working with children. And I think the main reason I like working with children, like you said, is I like to play. And I think I'm someone, not always, but I'm in touch with my child. My child, sometimes I don't have a filter, and the child, you guys, some of you know me like that too. And so in that way, I'm very childlike, and it's not a bad thing as long as I have good intention. But the thing is, when you're in touch with your own child, you know better what a child needs to be healthy, right? And like Kailash said, and Ann Wigmore, we would not take a child and say, this child needs a completely different diet or way of life. I would never tell a child, they could go to Kailash's yoga class. Everything here that we do here, and even on our online program, is great for children, everything. Because a child like us needs a few things, and one thing they really need, and I think Lalita will go more into this, is a healthy microbiome. So I'm gonna just start with that. A healthy microbiome, where does it come from? Well, if this was my mother and he was they would come from the family, right? So there's a nature nurture thing. There's a what you get, the genes, and then there's what happens, right? There's those two things. And I want you to know in the beginning, right away, it doesn't matter what you did or what happened to you. You can always heal. You can always repair. You can always take a child or a person and help them get healthier, always. So no matter how much chemicals they've had, or how much bad food, or how much even surgeries and all that, the person can recuperate by recuperating their microbiome. Even emotional trauma, you have a lot of people in the world that have had crazy amounts of emotional trauma, and it seems like two things, and I'm sure everything in between happens, that they either can go downhill, get into maybe a life of unhealthy eating and drugs and lifestyle and go that way. But there's a lot of people that take their trauma and end up making it into a healing for them, and they become people who help others, write books, and and I would say hopefully become a healthier person. So, but I don't believe you can really do that so well without a great microbiome, because this microbiome has all to do with the mind and how we feel and think. It really does. I have a psychology background, so when I entered college, I thought I want to study people, and I want to help people get better. And I realized that by doing a lot of these therapies, it kind of recycles it. Whereas if you shift, like at Wigmore, we cleanse and we rebuild the body, that the mind just starts changing, starts opening up, starts softening, starts being okay to be humble, starts becoming okay to feel more confident, more joy. And so we want this for our children. So how do we get that for our children? Is that the parents really, if before we have children, we could talk and we could do a cleanse and we could get our bodies ready, right? So that's actually why I came to Wigmore. My story is I came to Wigmore after already on a huge path, like a lot of you, taking food out and trying new things, what works. And then I ended up here because this is kind of like the bottom or the top, the part that it all goes from, the root, right? So after doing raw foods, I found living foods. And I found that here is where all the psychology stuff I learned made sense, because I started learning about the gut. I became a colon therapist. I started changing my own gut, which changed my own mind. I had more happiness, more joy, more emotional things too. Catharsis, would come up, and Lalita would always say, "Oh, you're cleansing again." I'd say, "Why am I crying? Why am I crying?" And I kept thinking, why am I doing this? Is I want to get my body ready. I see my body as earth, right? I'm like a mother earth on her own. And she's as an earth, and my baby is going to be born inside of me and then grow for 9 months. So I always thought, what do I have to do to get ready for this, right? And so when I cleansed, and my husband, thank God, jumped on it too, and we cleansed, I kept thinking, we are creating a beautiful space for the baby to grow in. Because I learned very young that before you're born has a lot to do with your health, as in the 9 months in utero. The birth itself has a lot to do with the health of the child or the person, and so does the first few years of life. It has a lot to do with your health. Again, doesn't matter if it was all a mess, you can still recuperate. Or if I did some mistakes, which we did as parents, it's not about feeling guilty. It's about now really understanding the gut, understanding what we have to do to get healthy, right? So we believe firmly in the living foods and the sprouts, but we also believe in, as you change that, you can help the mind. And another thing that the baby needs besides a good place to live for 9 months is the food that the mother eats. It does matter. So some doctors say to the women, "Oh, you're pregnant, go eat whatever you want." That's what they told my mom. So she did. But whatever she wants was, chips and chicken and ice cream, right? So the thing is to educate these young girls and boys that they are like a seed in the earth, right? The woman's the earth and the guy's the seed. And to get a good plant, right? Kailash and Alita, you need a good seed and you need a good earth, right? We're planting in this greenhouse. The earth and the seed are very important. If they're off, somewhere down the line, there could be an issue. That doesn't mean you can't heal it, but that's an issue. So we want to get that good. Now we want the emotional part of the body healthy too, right? So the woman and man, like Lalita, you said the other day, you don't want fighting going on, even when the baby's in utero, much less the first years of life. You've got to be very calm. So when there's trauma, we have to find out how to make the trauma not be traumatic, to calm down, to not fight, whatever is going on in the house. And the baby is growing, but the mother has to be in this way of just, she's like a queen, she should be walking around. Women should love being pregnant, and they shouldn't be treated like they're sick, right? I got myself a midwife because I realized I'm not sick. Why should I go to the hospital? And I want to tell my own story because I want people to know that it's available. It's available to have a midwife. It's available to have a home birth. Some places they actually try to say you can't It's illegal. But you can always find people and places in different areas that can. And I mean, Lalita will tell you, she was born at home. Most people from 70 and older or 80 and older were born at home because there weren't hospitals having babies yet. They weren't doing that in hospitals. So it's just an idea. If you don't feel like doing that, you'd rather be at a birthing center, like Kailash and I talked about. He was born in more of a birthing center or another place or a hospital, that would be fine too. The thing is, when it's done at home, you know, everything is energy. And to have this birth that is, it's really one of the most spectacular things that ever will happen, to be done in a hospital, unless it needs to be, you know, it doesn't have to be. You can work at home, you never leave the house, the baby goes right to the breast. And what happens when the baby drinks the breast milk? If it can, we want to try to get at least those first months, and it's getting its whole digestive system coated with all the microbiome pretty much, and it's all getting ready to become the place where they digest, right? Because before that, when they're in the belly, they're digesting through their stomach. It never goes in the mouth, right? When they come out and the first milk they have, that colostrum coats the whole, is it 30 feet, 20 something feet of digestive system tubing. And that is really almost setting it for life with the genes. Now, what we feed it and what we do to it makes a lot of difference. So, baby's born. Let's just say the babies have very peaceful, loving births, not traumatic, and they're born at home. And it's up to you about going to a doctor. Personally, for me, my kids were never sick. More than they had something, I would change what I ate because I was feeding them. And these babies don't need to see a doctor if they are not sick, right? Of course, if there was an issue, a naturopath, an acupuncturist, there's other ways, right, than just antibiotics. Children need something else. I'm talking very physical, right, about being in the belly and the breast milk and the microbiome and then what they eat. Most babies don't need anything more than breast milk for the first year plus in life. And then they can eat wonderful living food, blending apples and spinach or mashing a banana or an avocado. There's so much baby food that you can make. I mean, sometimes I realize I'm eating baby food because it's blended. And I always used to think babies and older people kind of need blended or easy to digest food because their teeth, right? Lack of, and the teeth are older. And in the middle, it's good to get used to eating blended. It's good to start it up and move stuff through and be okay with eating blended food. Now, one other thing I want to mention before I stop, because I want these two other wonderful parents to talk to, is a book that I found when I was pregnant called The Continuing Concept. I think it's from the 70s. It's a very old book. And it's about raising your child attachment parenting, which a lot of you know about. I'm watching our wonderful friend Michelle right now doing it with two. I don't know how she does it, but having the children on you a lot and breastfeeding and sleeping near them and all that stuff, what it does is it grounds the kid. It makes the kid a sense of security and feeling like they're still in there, but right next to it. And they need that very young in life or they feel lost. It's something that parents don't even know they do it. We do it naturally, right? Mothers naturally, in a way, make love to their baby. I don't mean that in any sexual way. What I mean is, oh, baby, oh, so sweet. And that kind of energy going to a child is pure golden love that fills them and can take them through their whole life and teach them how to love people and be loved and love themselves. So, you know, when you first have that child or you have your nephew or your niece and you're looking at them, you know, eye to eye, you're looking at them and you're saying, I love you. Even if you don't say it, like Lalita and I were saying, with no attachment, with no, what's the word we say? What's the word? Unconditional. Conditions. No condition why I love you. No condition. I love you no matter what. This seed that can get planted in the child and needs to be planted very young is very important. And a lot of parents whose microbiome is out of balance and their mind is out of balance, they don't know to do that. So I can't express to you how important the microbiome is for the parent to get the child ready. But if the parents isn't ready yet, they can get it ready with the child. Just like if your child is not healthy, you can get them healthy by cleansing them. They need to eat good food just like we do, and they need to cleanse, and they need to be nourished. So it's like Kailash said, whatever is good for me is good for my child. And so we have to look at what we do, because you can't put anything past them either. So you can't be over here eating pizza or drinking coffee and telling them, now drink your green juice. You have to be a full example, and you have to emanate love and health for them to do that. And even if you say, but I'm not healthy yet, I'm not, okay, but still do it. Still project health, see yourself healthy, and you'll become that. My kids are blessed. I think that I learned a lot of this from a woman who was a little older than me. I was insecure, saying home birth, this. You know, I didn't vaccinate my kids either, and I was worried. My father's a doctor, and he was better. And then all of a sudden, I had this lady saying to me, I didn't vaccinate, and my kids are all fine. They travel the world. And I said, oh, I didn't send them to school. My kids homeschooled, and they all went to college and got good jobs. I said, really? I had a home birth, and everything went well. And when I heard these people, I said, these are angels coming to me, telling me, don't worry. Because I had intuition to have my kids at home, to get my body ready, to try to get my husband's body ready. And also emotionally, I remember with Lalita saying, I want to get rid of all this garbage because I don't want to pass on my garbage to my child. And she always said, oh, that's so great. Now, you know, I did the best I could, believe me. Nobody's perfect. I'm sure giving them some garbage. But I just try to clean it up every day. I had a fight with Oliver about an egg just now. And then I just said, I don't want to fight. This, you know, that ends. Because there's also the thing with healthy kids that you get them a diet, or you say, because whatever your diet is and you think is healthy is going to be good for the kid, right? And then what if this kid then at 17 says, I don't want that diet, I want this. And guess what you have to do? Let go and relax, right? Because it's not going to help them or you to be fighting and struggling. And Lalita knows this, and Kailash is getting into this too with the 17-year-old. It's a whole other thing. It's not quite a kid anymore. And you got to let go. So you do the best you can for those 17 plus the year before, right? I want one day to do a presentation to young women and tell them how important it is that they're healthy, and the men too, that if you want to have healthy kids, you got to be healthy. Because we're going to see this in the next several years. A lot of children that are coming out of unhealthy parents later will have issues, right? And it's not anything to be upset about. It's just, I hope they can get this education to understand that they can reverse, that you can go all the way deep back. You can clear that microbiome and the emotional issues that are attached, and you can become a healthy kid or an adult. Kids are our mirrors, you know. Lalita always said that, and they're a reflection of us constantly. We're changing, they're changing. We're changing, they're changing. So to have a healthy kid, we need to get centered. And I'm talking to you because I need to hear it too. We need to get centered every day. Be in the nature, which is what I wanted to talk about too, but I got into all this. But kids need to be on the ground, just like I tell you, go barefoot. Kids need to be out in that beach. We need to be outside more than inside. And children need to move a lot, so do adults. So every day, twice a day, out to the beach, out to a playground, outside. Because that's where they're going to get what they need. Nature is what we need. We need love. We need a few good friends. We need good food, and we need nature to support us to be healthy, right? And we need to have fun. So I want to let Lalita talk in Kailash because I'm finished. I have 5 minutes. I don't know. I want to give you guys time too. I don't know how big our group is, but I want you guys, when we're done, to talk or bring up anything, and we'll talk after. Okay, so I'll let Lalita talk now, and then Kailash. Thank you.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Caroline words really inspire, and I feel that even if we don't have children, we become the best parents for our child within us. And then this lecture is for us to be able to take care better of our child within us. I feel I become a mom of my own child. In the process of healing, because we have all healing to do with the parents.
Right.
And then it's in this process I become also my mother. I will talk a little bit more about microbiome.
Yes.
Because I was so inspired feeling that when the children are in the womb of the mother, they are kind of sterile, but when they are ready to do the trip, really amazes me the trip that the babies are doing from the womb to the world, outside.
Their journey.
It's the journey of the baby. And it's a fantastic day. You know for what? I will tell you. When the babies start moving from the mother, from the womb, through the channel of birth, right? The babies are exposed to so many bacteria. It's an abundance of bacteria. And it's in the moment that they are getting the microbiome to
Like
go
all over them.
because of the skin and through the nostrils and through the mouth, they get all this microbiome and until they are born. And that microbiome is the first microbiome that is implanted in the baby. And this microbiome is going to shape, listen to this, I was amazed. It's going to shape the digestive system.
That's right.
The immune system, even the brain. Our immune system in the baby is not complete. The brain is not complete. It's going to be completed when
It
the
takes
baby.
a few years.
Yes, it takes a few years.
I think 6 to 8 years old, the immune system takes to grow in a child.
Exactly, and then having this microbiome is extremely important. Remember, shaping your immune system is like a tune the violin. Remember, I talked the violin. Now, what happened when the babies are not born in natural way? Oh my God, what happened? Then in
like
that
a C-section.
C-section.
But what are they doing?
What they are doing now, they are not doing what they should do.
They should.
When the baby is born, the doctor they should go put their hands inside of the mother.
Take all that gel.
And put all over the baby.
And rub it over the baby.
All over the baby. That will be the best.
And that's what they did in my birth. The baby came out and it was covered in this kind of white, and she rubbed it into its skin. She didn't wash them off.
That's good.
She rubbed it. I remember going, oh.
That's good. Yes, Caroline. Oh, listen. I admire this lady. I admire the way that the children were born. Anyway, but like she said, don't worry, you didn't.
That's right.
We have time to keep rebuilding our microbiome. As soon as we know how important they are. Another important thing for the baby is the mother milk. Because, that also impressed me. The mother milk has everything that the baby needs. Has protein, has carbohydrates, has fat, everything. But my surprise is to know the milk has food for the microbiome. Because the milk has some type of oligosaccharides, which is a very dense starch that the body cannot digest. But nature is not amazing that nature in the mother's milk puts something that the baby is not going to use. Do you know who is going to use? Yes, he's going to use the baby, but for the microbiome. That is the food for the microbiome in the mother milk. It's so amazing. Also, another thing that is just amazing from the mother milk is that the mother milk has prebiotics, which is this type of sugar, dense sugars, and the mother milk has probiotics.
The bacteria.
The bacteria too. And then this is just over there, the milk is just a precious food for babies. The best food for babies is mother milk. And that mother milk is, but before the mother milk, you mentioned, Caroline, the colostrum, right? The colostrum is so important because listen to this. Nature makes antibiotics. And what is the antibiotic? That colostrum. That colostrum is very important to protect the baby.
In those first few months, those first few weeks of being born, they're so sensitive.
All my mother and everybody said this is very important for the baby. It's important for
well, people are taking it in supplements now.
Yeah.
People are colostrum.
Or the cow. Colostrum too.
Right.
That is extremely important for the microbiome. And the milk come after. And what I learned about the milk that surprised me too, is that the milk is not always the same.
It changes.
It changes. For example, the milk in the morning is not the same milk at evening.
Right.
Because the milk at evening has certain characteristics to relax the baby.
It's amazing.
And you know, that milk at night has serotonin. Not incredible? Another thing that surprised me from the milk is that when the baby is growing, the milk is changing too.
That's right.
And when the babies start eating, that could be 1 year old, the milk change, become more concentrated. The milk has more antibodies, protect more the babies, that milk. And also, that milk is very good to protect the child and have more fat. And then it's very powerful. And we should, if it's possible, okay?
Right.
It's good to get until 1 year old. But if you can go farther, 2 will be the ideal because the child is eating, the digestive system mature, right? And they have the protection of the milk. And I will share one more thing about this because it was just passion about what the milk can do, and then Kailas can go. And it's about when the babies are exposed to a virus, when the baby is taking the milk, with the mother's suction, right? Suction. The baby sends signals to the mother that there is a virus. And then in that moment, the mother produces antibodies that go into the baby milk to protect from the virus.
Yeah. It's a communication. I think of the bacteria all going on between, and the amount of sucking and what the need of the baby is at that time. The body will give.
But if the mother is exposed to the virus, the mother sends the signal, the signal also to the baby to be protected. For the baby to be protected from the virus, mother is sending in the milk. Right. It's not incredible. It's just amazing that mother milk.
It's just nature. Again, it's we have to more and more realize that nature, the way it is, the way it happens naturally, is the best way for people in general. You know, and it's an amazing miracle. The body and the making another body, creating that, and watching a child grow, right? And look at us. I mean, are you all in touch with your child inside you? Because if you're not, you should be, right? Just for your own health. When people come here, that happens to them. When they're barefoot more, when women wear more dresses that are flowy, and men don't care about their shoes.
When they are walking.
And when they're walking, and we see people get giggly, or Kailash does yoga and he has more happy Buddha people as he sees them changing. And it really has so much to do with the changing of your microbiome, like the changing of the guard. Get the old out and put the new in, and watch yourself and your child get more happy.
And also playing with the soil.
That's right. And the food too.
The food, the food, and also the soil, because there are the earth, there are a lot of microbiomes also.
That's right.
And you have microbiomes in the skin too. The microbiomes are developing. They get food from the skin. Some deep inside the skin can feed also the microbiome that you have in the skin.
That's right. That's why barefoot is so.
Yes. And they said that when the children are playing basket together or playing sport together, and in that moment, because our microbiome is changing all the way, and they study the children that were playing in that team, and they got a similar microbiome in the skin because they were moving from one to the other.
And that's good because you want the diversity.
Oh, we want that. Caroline, thank you for using the word diversity, because the mother milk is creating a wonderful diversity with that dense starches that I was the sugar. When with the mother milk. So okay. This is my good news because I am always learning about microbiome.
That's right. It never ends.
Never ends. You have to learn too, because Raymond said one time, we are all students.
That's right. Always.
You inspire us, and we inspire you. When you are here, you're such a great inspiration. We just, the first
I miss them.
and you know, it's just the interaction of with the student and the love.
That's
over
right.
there. It's a dance of
and
love.
the diversity. We get, it's good. You know, I know right now everybody's part and the board. But the thing is, we're made of all those pathogens. We just got to keep them low. We can have viruses. We can have some parasites. We can have some bacteria, but keep them over here. Don't feed them. Don't give them to grow. And you can live like that, you know, and your children can live like that.
Exactly. But remember, if you cannot come to Puerto Rico, because now we are opening, that is the reason because we are excited. But if you cannot come to Puerto Rico, you got to go online, because we are going to be together. We are going to talk to you. You are going to have an appointment with us. No more talking for us.
No. And you can share it with your kids.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, I'm a student here too, listening to you too. I'm learning so much, and it's so inspiring listening to you, Lalita and Carolyn. There's so much amazing information. I will share a little bit about my journey and about the birth and the first years up to now of my children and myself included. So I'm from Germany, as most of you know, and my parents, they went to India before I was born, and they became yogis, that is mostly practitioners of meditation, and also asanas, postures and movements. And then when before my mom got pregnant, they got into the Rudolf Steiner Waldorf philosophy. And a friend of theirs told them about this hospital in Germany, in a small town. It's a Rudolf Steiner hospital. And so, although it's quite far from where they lived back then, they decided that would be the place, you know, with different colors, different, like everything very humane. And I just now, you know, years later, I realized, wow, what a gift it has been to have been born into a hospital like that, in a Waldorf hospital, Rudolf Steiner hospital. And so my childhood, my parents were vegetarians already, which was amazing. What a great gift, really, to have been raised in a household of vegetarians. And so I have two brothers, grew up with two brothers, and all three of us were vegetarians, and we're raising our children. My two brothers have also children. We're raising our children vegetarian. So when my wife was pregnant, I have a 8-year-old son and a 17-year-old stepson. So when my wife got pregnant, she decided to really go into yoga, and I was studying yoga therapy, my third yoga therapy training at the time. And I did my final work on yoga therapy for pregnant women. And it was so beautiful to be around my wife and teaching her all of these different things that I was learning. And for her, she was a little bit nervous about giving birth at home, because with her first son, 3 months or several months before he was born, she had to be hospitalized because of high blood pressure. And they could both have lost their lives. And she was under so much stress. She was studying and working at the same time and pregnant. She wanted to finish work, and life just showed her that she needed to stop absolutely everything. So she spent a few months before her first child was born in the hospital. And fortunately, he was born as a healthy boy, and there were no lasting effects from him being born a month before the date that they anticipated that he would be born. So when it came to when she was pregnant with her second child, we didn't know it was a boy at the time, but when she was pregnant, she wanted to do yoga and relax and really take it easy. And so it was great. So I was just teaching her a lot of these yoga exercises for her to relax and breathe, and all these hip openers. We're preparing the ligaments, preparing the muscles, the tendons, and just keeping her stress level low. And then actually the birth was very easy, super smooth. When she started feeling she would give birth, she soon after went to the hospital, and the boy, without she didn't have to take any painkillers or anything. And he just came out so easily, the little boy. And it was a natural birth. And I believe she was more relaxed. She was very relaxed because she knew she would be in a very good hospital. This was in Brazil. My two sons were born in Brazil. And at the beginning, breastfeeding was easy, and we both believe breastfeeding is the best way of nurturing the child. But she got a little bit nervous at some point when her breast milk she didn't produce as much as she thought she needed to. We don't know if she really needed to produce more. But because she got nervous, she produced even less. And then what we did is she started eating a lot of fenugreek sprouts, which I researched and found that they help produce more fenugreek in general, but the sprouts supposedly, because they potentialize the effect. And then we made coconut milk. That is, in Brazil, very young coconuts using the soft meat, and we would blend it together and give that to the little boy. And he loved it. And he didn't need it for long, but she relaxed when she saw that he responded to it. And also eating the fenugreek, she was able to produce, again, the amount of breast milk she thought she needed to. And I believe it was a combination of, relaxing again, knowing that he gets the nutrition, he gets enough calories, he gets what he needs. And then also probably the fenugreek helped, I imagine, the combination of the two. And I have a vivid memory when we were sitting at the table and I was making collard wraps, and I don't like the stems that much. So I would take off the green part and leave the stems on the table, like the middle section of the big collard leaves. And then I would see the little boy grab the stem of the collard, and he started chewing on it, lengthwise. So there was no risk of him swallowing it, but he was getting ready for his teeth to begin to come out. So his first food was coconut milk from fresh coconuts we made, and then the first food he chewed on were greens, really, the stem of the collard. And then other things he started putting in his mouth were the red bell peppers. I cut these long pieces and he would just chew on them. He would not swallow them. He didn't have teeth, and there was no risk because it was lengthwise. So he would chew on that. And then I made energy soup, so I gave him some energy soup. And I thought he may not like it, you know, with the Rejuvilac and the dolls and this and that in there. And like many kids, because it's green, you know, they're already conditioned and they wouldn't even touch it because it's green. But this little boy was just eating energy soup, eating energy soup. He didn't know it. He didn't know, he didn't think of it being green or tasting like Rejuvilac or whatnot. He was happy at every meal. He would eat energy soup. And he tried Rejuvilac too, and he didn't have any problems with those foods. If you give those to kids, like my other boy, like he was 8 when we first met, and he didn't want to see anything green. And green smoothies too for the little one. He loved the green smoothies. And one of his favorite foods too, to get him more calories and vitamin B6, were mashed bananas and mashed avocados and mixing that together. And he would love that. He'd eat lots of that.
Kailash, I think it's great that you're letting, you know, what you just said, how, you know, the older child already, like Lalita uses the word, already his tongue was perverted, you know, it was already like kind of like messed up. Well, you know, for a while, you can always go back. And then the other child, his tongue was just fresh and new, and he didn't think anything, you know, his tongue was not, nobody did anything to that tongue yet.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, now we have a little bit of the challenge of the little one wants to be like the big one. You know, the little one is 8 and the big one is 17. So now we're helping the bigger one, the older one, to eat better. So that would then inspire the little one. So we say, look, he drank his entire green smoothie. And the little one, all right, so I'll drink it as well. Or look, your bigger brother, he ate the whole salad on his plate. And then the little one, all right, I'll eat the salad as well.
That's right. That's why if you can get the first one down good, then the others follow. But that's great.
And most kids, of course, most kids like fruits. And I think some of the most wonderful fruits, I mean, really a fast food for kids, are berries. Blueberries are fantastic for kids. Blueberries, strawberries, berries are so healthy, so good for the kids. So the little one, both boys actually love eating berries. They eat lots of berries. So I wanted to touch on the, just reinforce the attachment parenting, which is really, like you mentioned, Michelle is now doing it with her kids. Like for those of you becoming mothers or considering to have more children, or maybe those of you have little children, very like babies, like the skin to skin contact is one of the most important things for the children to develop this basic trust in this creation, to develop this security and this connection. Skin to skin contact, the more the better, especially with the mother, the more the better. When my son was, I used the bag like a cloth really, and he was on my belly. We would go anywhere. He was on my front, on my belly, and then later I would have this backpack. He would be in my backpack, on my back. We would go to the bank. We would go to the supermarket, ride the bike along the beach. So the boy was always with his mother, very close to me. So the protein is I wanted to touch on the whole protein topic, myth, for just a moment here. A lot of mothers, and also then becoming mothers, or also mothers who have already their children, are very concerned about getting enough protein and this and that. I mean, if you think about it, breast milk only has 6% of 100% of protein. It is so little if you think about it. 6% on average of protein in breast milk. What is the main nutrient really in breast milk? Is it protein? No, the main function of protein is growth. But why does breast milk only have 6% protein if the main function of protein is growth? Because babies grow much slower than cows and other animals. that need to be 2,000 pounds after a few months. And so breast milk is perfect for the gut and the brain development, and has just the perfect amount of protein from our perspective. And if you look at the strongest animals on the planet, elephants, giraffes, cows, horses, monkeys, they're vegetarians. If you look at some of the strongest men, watch Game Changers if you'd like to learn more about this. Some of the strongest people on the planet, they're vegans. We're talking about human beings, people. So the protein, and if you look at the foods, I can paste it in a moment in the chat, like the greens are so high in protein. Watercress has 84% protein, alfalfa sprouts 69% protein, spinach 50% protein, bok choy 46%, asparagus 44, kale 45, romaine lettuce 44% protein. It's not that dark even, So really our best source of protein are green leafy vegetables for kids and for adults. It doesn't matter from our perspective. So breast milk is just 6% protein, 39% carbohydrates, and 55% fat to insulate, keep the baby warm, and keep it cushioned, keep it protected. Breast milk is mostly fat. I'm going to paste into the chat also some reading recommendations. I want to leave some time for questions. One thing I want to say also, with kids when they're young, especially when they're still young, using the animals to practice yoga, the cobra posture, the camel, the lion, and so forth. There's great books. There's fantastic books helping kids to get into yoga, imitating the animals. The other thing, you see the rebounder here in the background. The rebounder, maybe, yes, you can see it here. So we just recently got a rebounder, and my son is being homeschooled like so many kids around the world now due to the pandemic. And we put the rebounder between the kitchen where we homeschool him and where we are a lot of the time anyway, and the area where he plays. So he goes back and forth a lot. And every time he bounces, he jumps, and he's so happy. He raises his arms. He does all these things with his legs. And I just realized this was one of the best things we could do, especially him being
that's their natural way, right? That's their natural way. I always tell people in the lymphatic class how children, they're bouncy because they're healthy, and then as we get older, we end up doing this thing. We have to stop that and bounce and get bouncy.
Yes, jumping makes us happy. What do people go when they go out to the clubs at night? Well, they jump, they dance, right? To get happy. You don't have to take any drugs or drink alcohol or smoke whatever to be happy like that. We living foods and jumping around. So I like to end my part with a quote by Bernard Shaw, George Bernard Shaw. And I love this quote. It's along the lines of what we've just been talking about. We don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. So playing music, it connects us with our inner child. Doing the type of exercise we love, dancing, and playing with children as well, being around children, it connects us with our inner child, and that comes out, and it is, in my opinion, more rejuvenating than anything else. So I'd like to open it for questions, and I have one here in the Q&A section, and I'll address this to both of you, Lalita and Carolyn. The question is, my baby was born under C-section, very premature, like my stepson, I suppose. Spent 3 months after birth in the hospital. Yeah, sounds familiar. And I did not have any breast milk. Baby is 4 months old on milk formula. What could I do at this stage for building her immune system? It's a very good question. You have to unmute yourself, Carolyn, and then.
I have one, and this is just an idea, and I got this idea from a friend because she had issues with the breastfeeding for herself and ended up finding, they call them a wet nurse, or there are women in the world that either something happened with their baby or the baby won't accept their milk or they have too much milk and they donate it to women who have babies that aren't breastfed. So I'm just saying it as a suggestion that wherever you live, you might want to look into finding, I don't want to call it a milk bank because it should never be sitting in a bank. There's ways to find communities of women that if there's another woman that has the milk, you get it from her. She comes and she gives it to you, or you pay for it, but most times they're giving it because these women want to give and they have too much. So it's just one idea to get them onto actually back onto breast milk since the baby's only 4 months old. It's just an idea.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Because our friend, she noticed that the little baby was not able to digest other foods. And then she kept getting milk from another lady that they even are selling milk now.
Yes.
And the little girl is doing great. She needed more months, to be with the mother milk. And maybe that baby will really be healthy.
Yes, for sure, because you're helping give it its immune system, like we were saying, and also, your baby in the next 2 months, also the teeth they're coming. The baby's for sure teething, and when the baby does start to eat, it's very important that it's very good food, like Kailash thing, like blended sprouts, like our energy soup, little bits, a few spoonfuls. And you get the first food of that baby is very important because it's going to set the tone, right, of what's the tongue of the palate, of what the palate is used to. So right now the baby's used to the formula or the cow's milk, and then the baby might not want, you might have to actually put some of the breast milk and wean the baby off their milk and get it back on. I would look into the leche league too. The leche is a league, a group of women that have been going on since before the 70s that can help with any issue with breastfeeding or any woman. They can connect you to other women too. So la leche league.
We are recommending you if you can get mother milk because the baby needs to be revealed.
Right.
Because it's so little, it's 4 months old.
And was premature too.
Premature, and then that baby will need a little bit of milk.
Right.
To reveal, because then we can recommend smoothies or we can recommend juices or something else.
I would also recommend, you might think I'm completely crazy, but I don't necessarily believe that you can't produce milk anymore either. I'm not saying you can either, but you might want to see if you can work with La Leche or someone in seeing if you can stimulate your own breast milk again, if you can. The last thing I want from this whole conversation, or the whole talk, is for any woman to feel guilty or a mother that we didn't do, or father, we didn't do something right. Everything we do at the hospital or everything, we did the best we can through it. And that baby is going to be okay because you're now conscious. And when the baby starts eating, that baby needs food that is going to repair and rebuild an immune system.
Yeah.
So energy soup, like Kailash said, Rejuvelac is in it. And so that baby, when it first starts, what's that? And then the baby gets used to it. It's all what the people or child gets used to. Your baby's going to be totally healthy. You want to know really quick, the best advice I ever got on how to be a good parent is this: relax. That's what they told me, and they were right. Carolyn, like you said with your wife, Kailash, like, how do you really have healthy children? Of course, feeding the baby. You know how we feel about that. But we have to be relaxed. And I have to remind myself that every day, or my kids remind me, if not, Mom, relax, And the more relaxed I am, that's going to emanate like love to them and support. And that is more important, honestly, than the food you eat, because the food you eat can always change. So it's this mother that's asking this question, I want to tell you to relax. I want to tell you not to worry. I want to tell you right now, your baby is going to be totally healthy and happy and great one day. And you're going to look back and go, I can't believe how worried I was. Stop worrying. The worrying will only make you sick and your energy to your baby fearful. So right now, get ready. Your baby is out of that trauma. Repair the trauma. Do Reiki with your baby. Put your baby on the floor with you. Lean on the baby. Tell your baby how much you love that baby. And you eat good and know that you get yourself ready. Because once that baby's 6 months old, he's going to be reaching for everything you put in your mouth. So the parent has to be eating good things because that baby's going to grab it and it's going to go in their mouth.
And I have remember also you can put the baby in your breast. And maybe because baby suction, you say in English, baby suction, they stimulate too.
That's right.
But you don't have big expectations, or
right.
you don't put yourself down. Just say, I'm going to try,
right.
because baby in contact with your breast is wonderful. Kailan was talking about fenugreek, right, Kailan?
Fenugreek.
Fenugreek, you can be drinking, taking fenugreek with you, eating, and then just plenty liquid, and frequently suction or massaging your breast.
That's right.
And the milk come back in some days.
It does for some people, and you have to have a good diet. And I would suggest a cleanse for you to get ready to do this. It can't hurt you or the baby. It can only help the whole situation and you emotionally after all you've been through.
Yeah, no expectation.
That's right.
Just in a relaxed manner, you
try
and you love your breast and you put the baby. But the contact, even if you don't have the milk, the contact is
right.
amazing.
And here, the baby hears your heart. When the baby lays there and feels your heartbeat, it's giving, like Kailash and we all said, it's giving the baby a sense of security and love that lasts for the rest of their lives.
It's a familiar sound because the baby was inside listening to the heart too.
And no matter what, like we said, look, I definitely did not have a great birth, not extremely traumatic, but a normal hospital birth, probably slapped me and grabbed me and whatever they did. And then my mom didn't eat well, and then I had to stop the breastfeeding. And then I grew up on horrible, unhealthy food. But I'll tell you one thing, I came out okay. My kids, but you know what? My parents, they loved me, and they let me eat what I wanted. And then I had to learn, you eat all this bad stuff, and you have to come back around. And I ended up, my kids always say, Mom, we can eat this unhealthy thing. You ate unhealthy. You came out okay. And I'm like, I say, you don't know what I've been through. I did years of cleansing my body.
I love this whole idea of you can heal your life independently of how your birth was, how badly your parents ate and abused and whatnot. We all can start now again, and we can rebuild the trust that maybe we did not build at the beginning.
Pill, right? You don't need a pill. You need to shift your lifestyle and get really into nature.
And I like to recommend, I pasted here in the chat, there's a beautiful, it's an audio program by Rosalind Graham, Dr. Douglas Graham's wife. And I know her and Doug Graham personally. I've been to their home in England several times. And she's the only raw food child that I know who the whole life was raised on raw foods and homeschooled and natural birth and all of that. And she's an example. She's 15 now. And she's an example of a super healthy, above average tall child. So the whole protein myth that you can grow as tall and as healthy is, we can see she's super healthy, super intelligent, a beautiful, wonderful child, homeschooled in England. So she has a nice program called Nurturing Peace. So instead of calling it anything parents, she calls it Nurturing Peace. And I encourage those of you, especially where in the relationship, one of you is maybe more on this path, living foods, holistic, and the other isn't, to really relax more and find ways to find peace at home, because that can be more important than really what you eat and so many other things to keep nurturing that peace at home. Another program I recommend is Jennifer Reese. She's a colleague of mine at Kripalu. She has this Divine Sleep Yoga Nidra for children, but it's really for adults too. And she has many other programs for adults. And the link where you can find it is it's also pasted. We don't get any money from any of this. It's what we recommend because we love it and it's worked for us. And then Lalita, she recommended this book to me many years ago, before I even had a child, Tears and Tantrums. It is also filled with wisdom, good information. The cover is different now, but you can find this. The link is also in the chat. And then Marshall Rosenberg's work, I've done a few workshops with him while he was still in his body. His classic book is Nonviolent Communication, A Language of Life. And then he also has this little booklet, which was a talk, Raising Children Compassionately. Now, it's a very thin book, and I often have it in the bathroom next to the toilet. So when I sit there, I keep reading things. Some basic feelings we all have, some basic needs we all have, and I keep reminding myself. And then I walk out of the bathroom, and I try to be a better parent because my children, they're waiting, they need something. So I'll usually have one of these nonviolent communication books there. And then I also love Karen Renzi's work. Her website, superhealthychildren.com, and she wrote the book, Creating Healthy Children, with also many recipes and many tips. And she also talks about attachment parenting. So her subtitle is Creating Healthy Children Through Raw Foods and Attachment Parenting. So we're almost at the end here. I'm not seeing any questions, or late maybe. Let me check here in the Q&A section.
I think it's great.
You have to unmute yourself, Carolyn. Yeah, perfect.
I think it's great that the books that Kailash is suggesting, because there's not a lot of books. There's a lot of mainstream books, and they kind of just tell you what you should do according to a medical, very medical way. But I think reading these books, and the other thing is really meditating and getting quiet, because the woman, and the man too, but the woman, especially because the woman knows what to do. It's been generations of your people for however long back. We know what to do. Our bodies know what to do. And really, sometimes if you read too much, you have to be careful, because then it fogs the intuition. Yeah, the intuition will tell a woman to listen to her body, to allow her body to have contractions, to allow the body to move, to relax. But if the brain is filled with fears or things that you think you should do, or they should be eating, or they should, then that's not relaxed, and then the body doesn't open up, right? And so, or breastfeed, or parent in a relaxed way. So I want to let Grandma say.
There is another question, Kailash?
Yes. I'm going to close in a moment with here Khalil Gibran on children. There's a few questions, and so I'll read them to you, Carol and Lalita. They're short questions, a whole bunch of them. What to do when one is nauseous during pregnancy? What to do when one is nauseous during pregnancy?
Oh,
you have to unmute yourself.
The best thing is to really look at what you're eating, that maybe when you're feeling nauseous, when during the day. Ginger tea, there's all these things like to help, like ginger is the best thing to help. But I know I was nauseous in my third pregnancy, but not in the first two. And everyone told me that was because it was a girl. That wasn't true. So that wasn't it. Some people told me because the baby was hairy, and that's not true either. So don't. But I think, I don't know how old you are or any of that, but the body, is giving you sign. It's usually digestive issue with nausea, a colon issue. So I think a great thing to do would be to really, really refine your diet, watch what you're eating and what time of day, and try to shift. Sometimes it just happens though. Sometimes it just is that you're a little nauseous.
And the simplicity too. Do not mix so many food together.
Right, right. Like mono meal or two
Yeah.
things at once.
They can simpler. That is very important.
Here's a few more questions. Do I lose energy or some sort of vitamins if I have intercourse, probably intercourse, it says intercourse, when pregnant?
No, I've never heard of that. Supposedly the men, because they release, they're the ones that are losing minerals or vitamins. We just gain more, maybe. I don't know.
The woman is receiving.
The woman's receiving. No. I think during pregnancy it's very great if you can be sexual until however long. You know?
And here's another question. Do you recommend a sort or brand of clothes, diapers?
Oh, the diaper. Well, I mean, my babies, the last time my baby was a baby was 11 years ago, and we used that 7th generation, or we bought cloth ones. We had cloth ones for the first few months, and then we used and now even I think, I don't know which name brand, a big name brand actually has a natural one too, but I'm always looking for the chemical-free everything for the child, for me and the child, the food chemical-free, no drug, no chemicals, you know, and that's no chemicals on their skin, no chemicals in their hair and stuff. Like Kailash said, he uses sunscreen because the child ones,
Yeah.
cotton. So just finding the best ones, the best quality is the best for you, or cloth.
And then there's also, while I was living in California, I knew a few families, dear friends of mine, and they didn't use diapers at all. They were able to pick up the signal, their child, when the child needed to pee or poop,
Yeah.
and they just took it to a place, usually outside somewhere, to the trees, to give minerals, nutrition to the trees.
That happened with my first child, but then when you have one child and then 2 others over here, it's not the same. But the first child actually did that. At 1 year old, it was like no diaper, no nothing, pee outside, poop outside. I mean, the thing is, if we could all be raised in nature more, right? Our kids would do all that natural. We would naturally carry them instead of using strollers. You know, we would naturally, they'd be on the ground more, all this stuff. So you try to think that way, how to have a healthy kid, how to be healthy. How did we do it when we were cave people? Because we were healthier then.
Yeah, we didn't use diapers. So this is a big question here. Well, it's a short question, but a big, important answer. Can I start this program while pregnant?
So the reason Kailash is saying it's a big question is that's the one thing we tell people, you can start it when you're pregnant, but we don't want you detoxing. So if you're somebody that's coming from a very, maybe more unhealthy diet, we don't want you then to go to extreme and eat this food and cleanse when you're just pregnant. That wouldn't be the time.
Yeah, but we can guide you also. You can talk to us and
about eating healthier.
To guide you how to do the transition.
Right.
Because after you do the transition, you can go slowly into 100% living food.
Right.
But what we do not want is you enter into a deep detox.
And cleanse, right.
Cleanse
And do enemas. We don't want to, right now, especially the first 3 months, you don't touch your body. The baby is settling into place. Yeah. And you don't want to do anything extreme. But it doesn't mean you can't eat this food. You should be eating things like energy soup and avocados and all that. Mixing
with some cooked food that is healthy.
If you're coming from
cooked food. If you are coming from cooked food and you're eating dense cooked food, then you start eating light cooked food and integrate the energy soup and the green juices and everything.
I was already eating raw for a few years and I got pregnant. And I'm going to tell you, I also it's a whole other thing, but I got pregnant without having a period. But I did have a period, but nothing was coming out for 3 years. Once I went all raw, my period went, and I go, I would say to Lalita, I want to have a kid, and now I don't have my period. And she said, don't worry, you know. And I had a kid the moment I wanted to have a kid, and the period didn't really ever return because my diet stayed mostly clean living food.
Yeah,
and my menopause also hasn't been anything because naturally our bodies wouldn't be letting go of so much toxins if we're not so toxic. We wouldn't have all this menopause symptoms if we weren't so toxic either.
Menstruation is a way to detox too, to remove toxins from the body.
Right.
There are a few more questions here. What do I do when my baby is sick from fever, etc.? What do I do when my baby is sick?
Is the baby still breastfeeding, or it
suppose.
depends what if the baby's breastfeeding, breastfeed that baby until the fever goes down. I mean, liquid. The thing is, everyone, child or adult, need the same things. Is what we were saying, right? The same kind of things when you're sick. You need lots of fluids, and that should be in water with lemon or lemon juice and green juices. And you need liquids, and then you need some people, babies too, could use an enema. If a fever is there and you do an enema, a gentle enema on the baby, the fever will go down. On an adult too. My husband, it happened to him last week. He had like a food poisoning, and he said, "I need an enema." He got a fever and everything, and the enema just brought the fever down, and then his body needed to process and get the stuff out. So an enema is a great thing. Lots of liquids, breastfeeding. Keep your baby warm, keep the baby on you, stay with the baby, warm like a tea, like a sun tea that you make, chamomile, liquids. And the baby will get better.
Could the baby drink wheatgrass juice is another question.
Yes, baby can drink wheatgrass.
If they never drink wheatgrass,
You can take a little eyedropper and put a few drops in the baby's mouth and see how the baby does. If the woman is still breastfeeding, everything I'm saying should go to the woman, which will pass through the breast milk, and it will cleanse the baby.
don't give the baby mother.
My babies, I'm proud to say that I've never given my baby any medicine. I was raised with medicine. I always would reach for food or liquid or just comfort and ask God to help me and be patient and trust, connect and trust, not worry, rest, relax, and babies get better. People get better. This is the way it is.
We're healers. We are self-healers.
That's
By
right.
default.
Bodies are smart on their own.
And here's one more from this line of questions. Could I have a colonic while pregnant? Is the question.
I wouldn't. The thing is, I would stick with enemas while pregnant. I wouldn't ever get a colonic while pregnant. Now, I wouldn't do enemas unless I was already used to them, right? So that's the thing with colonics and enemas. If a woman is already used to doing enemas and she gets pregnant, I would say give it the first 3 months, don't do anything. But then if you need a little gentle enema here and there, enemas are fine for a woman that's used to it. If a woman has never had an enema before, I don't think it's time to start enemas. That would be after you have the baby, and then you cleanse, right? After you're done breastfeeding, or you breastfeed and cleanse gently, like Lalita said. So no colonic. Just you don't need it. You just need a little enema to open us up, right?
Good. And there's one last question here in the chat. If there's time, there isn't, but we'll answer it anyway.
Yeah.
Can any one of you speak about 10 to 7-year-olds?
Yeah. I have 3 of those, 10 to 17-year-olds.
So you can speak about that very well, I suppose.
No, I don't know, but I mean, the thing is to get them to eat healthier, it takes creative. It's creative, and we can't control them. So like Kailash, I have a little one, he wants to be like the big one, and now the big one's telling me I want to eat whatever I want. And so there's dynamics. You just have to help them always add sprouts. I always try to add more to it, try to, get them that, and also sometimes let them go and let them not feel good, because then they learn, right? They my son was eating a lot of bread, and I said, What happened to you when you ate all that bread? He started making his own bread. He just couldn't stop making and eating it. And he said, I got constipated. And I said, okay, and what else? I got acne, because he noticed that he had all these bumps after he was eating the bread for a few days. And I said, and what else? And he said, I didn't feel so good. And I said, okay, I just want you to remember that. I just want you to remember, because that's really how we learn, right? You really learn by doing it yourself, not your mother saying, don't eat the bread, it's not good for you. You have to eat the bread and feel constipated.
No, but your youngest son,
What happened?
Carolina, he was eating bread also because he went for vacation.
Yes, to my mother's.
To your mother's. And then he told the mother. He told
He
Carolina.
came to me out of nowhere after about a week of eating bread every day bread, and said, Mom, I think when I get home, I'm going to try an enema. And I looked at him and I said, oh, really? Well, why are you saying that? He goes, it's just when I get home. I'm curious. I said, are you constipated? No. He didn't want to talk about it, my mom's. But when we got home, I asked Lalita, she said, with love, I give you this enema for Julian. And I put it there. I said, this is yours when you're ready. And he said, well, I'm ready right now. And he's 11, and we heated up the water. Now, mind you, he does know his father does enemas. He does know I do enemas. So he knows that that's our norm when we don't feel good. That's our aspirin. It's not take an aspirin, see you in the morning. It's do an enema, and we'll talk tomorrow. Yeah. Right? And so he did the enema. He came out looking better. And then the next day he said, would it be okay if I did one more today? Because he needed another one after 2 weeks of eating bread every day. And so the thing is with this age group is you need to do a lot of education, a lot of, I'm still learning. You got to like step back in and leave them alone and come back. And they have to see it on you. Like Kailash's little boy sees his big brother doing stuff and he wants to be like him. And guess what? He wants to be like Kailash too. So what he sees Kailash doing, even if he's not doing it now, will set in deep. And when he's older, he'll know. When he doesn't feel good, he meditates. Or when he doesn't feel good, he does an enema. Or when he doesn't feel good, he drinks or goes to the ocean. And they learn from your habits of what you do when you don't feel good or you feel good, right?
They have choices. So many children, they don't even know any of this. But if we're living examples, then they'll learn by seeing us. And at the same time, I want to parents who may be a little bit frustrated with their children not really doing any of the healthy habits that you're living and that you're learning from you. And in this poem here, Khalil Gibran, the first sentence, your children are not your children. And I know parents, they are yogis, they're vegetarians, they're vegans, they're like everything right, home birth.
Right.
The kids, they're rebelling and they never started meditating or eating. They're not vegetarians even, The parents seemingly did everything right, and yet the kids, they're here to have their own experiences. They're here for a reason, and we're the containers. We give them love, and we're doing our best. We're good examples, and in the end, they're choosing, and so, whatever their choices are, this is really the term you used earlier, Carolyn, unconditional love. That's really when we can practice unconditional love. And I personally, I didn't really understand too well what it meant, what the term meant, kind of vaguely. But with my children, I really realized this, I really felt it inside, this unconditional love. And one thing that I learned from Brian Tracy, the motivational speaker, and this is something so simple and so obvious, but he said, tell your children all the time that you love them. And so even when I'm fighting with my little son, and we're like have very different opinions about something, maybe about what he should eat or I should eat, or how long he should spend at his friend's house, and when to go to sleep, or whether to brush his teeth or not, or take a shower, and so forth and so on. I always tell him, even when things can be intense, I tell him, I love you. It doesn't matter. We're fighting right now, but always remember, I love you. It doesn't matter if we're fighting. It doesn't matter if we have differences in opinion. And he says, yes, I know, Daddy, I know. The little one, primarily.
As you said, we're always learning.
So,
okay, that's it, Kailash.
Yeah, do you have any closing words? I would like to close with this by Khalil Gibran. Lalita, do you have any closing words for our listeners and viewers?
As a wise grandma.
Yes, you're right. We are all mirrors of our children. And when I see in my grandchildren, they are mirrors of myself too, because I can see my children in my grandchildren. And then But I will say closing before the poem because I really would like Kailash to read
Yes,
the
a
poem.
good poem.
That is a poem that I read before I had my first child.
You gave it
But-
to me too.
And
that
I
poem,
gave to
when
you,
I had
yes. But what I want to say is that we have to accept and love our children no matter what. Even if they are eating terrible McDonald's, different food, totally garbage.
Even if they're doing drugs.
Even if sometimes, whatever they are, they have to feel that we love them, that we accept them, and we support in whatever they are doing. Because many times what the parents are doing is project on the children
Yes.
what they would like the
Right.
children doing.
Right.
Or they do something that they were not able to do.
Right. Our
And
concept
then,
on them.
yes, and then the children will appreciate the whole life if we love them without condition.
Freedom, the freedom.
Yeah. And take care of you because the children in some moment are going to do what you are doing.
That's right.
My grandchildren, who is 17,
Yeah.
surprised me because he doesn't eat meat.
He became
He
vegetarian.
became vegetarian
Last year.
last year. And he the first thing that he does, he called me, look at the infants. Grandma, I'm not eating meat. It's a, wow, it was a big surprise.
Yeah.
But did you see?
Yeah.
The message is going to move. Thank you for being. And we hope to see you in the next webinar, okay? And probably in January we do more webinars. We will let you know.
But come see us. How can you not want to come? While he reads the poem, I'm going to put the ocean on for you.
Oh, yes.
Oh, beautiful.
Or the course online, remember. Okay. All of you, if you need to talk to us, just please call the office and be connected. The mother, the 4-month-old baby,
Yes.
whoever, please connect to us, okay, for inspiration.
Thank you. We
Thank
love
you.
you.
I put the phone number in the chat.
Rue would never let me do this. He would tell me this is totally stupid.
Okay, Kailash, the point.
On children. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. For life goes not backward, nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children, as living arrows, are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness. For even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable. I'll type the name on the chat here. On Children by
I think.
Khalil Gibran. Beautiful. Thank you all so much for having joined us today for this really amazing webinar from my perspective. Really amazing webinar. We see the ocean in the background now, Lalita and Carolyn. So much good information, so many good questions. Really, thank you all. And we hope that you'll be with us next week again. Same time, same place, Zoom, where we talk about achieving your perfect physique.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lalita.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Carolyn. Thank
You
you, all
all
attendees.
Great. The three of us, look. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And this will be available on YouTube and Wakemore Natural Health Institute channel if you'd like to rewatch it. Thank you. Bye-bye.